बरतानवी मेंबरान पार्लियामेंट क्लाइव ल्यूस और सैम टेरी का कहना है कि बरतानवी हुकूमत को पाकिस्तान में सैलाब ज़दगान की मदद करनी चाहिए। उनका कहना था कि दुनिया भर में मौसमियाती तब्दीलियों के हवाले से तरक्की याफ्ता ममालिक को इक़दाम करने की ज़रूरत है। वो लंदन में हमारी नुमाइंदा साहिरा खान से खुसूसी गुफ्तगू कर रहे थे। आइए देखते हैं।
जी, हमारे साथ मौजूद हैं इस वक्त मेंबरान पार्लियामेंट क्लाइव लुइस एंड सैम टेरी। क्लाइव लुइस जो हैं वो एक एक्टिविस्ट हैं, सस्टेनेबल वर्ल्ड के लिए उन्होंने बहुत काम किया है, ये ग्रीन एक्टिविस्ट हैं। आइए हम इनसे बात करते हैं, पूछते हैं पाकिस्तान के बारे में जहाँ फ्लड्स ने एक डिजास्टर किया हुआ है बहुत ज़्यादा। थैंक यू फॉर योर टाइम। सो प्लीज टेल अस, इज इट द यूके गवर्नमेंट, टॉरी गवर्नमेंट, आर दे डूइंग इनफ फॉर व्हाट्स हैपनिंग इन पाकिस्तान एंड रिगार्डिंग द ग्रीन वर्ल्ड?
So clearly they're not doing enough. And, look, if you look at the history of the Conservative Party in this country, they've been cutting the overseas aid budget. That's something they've been doing quite recently. They've been crowing about that. And you look at what's been happening in Afghanistan, the lack of aid, the lack of international aid that's gone in there in a famine that's taking hold of that country there. And now this is happening in Pakistan. The answer of this government isn't about more aid, which in the short term is needed, but they're also talking about opening more drilling licenses, which is about putting more fossil fuels from the ground, which is going to make the situation worse, not just for Pakistan, but for countries all over the world, in the global south in particular. So what this country should be doing, what the Conservative government should be doing, which still has the presidency of COP, they should be talking about how we're going to further enhance and tackle the climate crisis rather than making it worse. And what they're doing is, by using the Ukraine war as an excuse to allow oil companies to pull out yet more oil from the ground. So what we need to see is a stopping of fossil fuel extraction, a timely stopping of that. But we also need to see things like reparations to countries like Pakistan and other global south countries which have suffered decades, centuries of exploitation from the West. And that now needs to be dealt with rapidly, because we can see that many countries in the global south are suffering from droughts, from floods, and this is the climate crisis. It's here, it's happening now, and unless the West and UK offers that leadership and does stuff now, then I'm afraid to say that we will see more destabilisation, more suffering, more deaths, and that's something that I don't think anyone wants to see, and it needs to happen, and that needs to happen.
Any message for Pakistanis who are suffering in Pakistan right now?
So my message to those in Pakistan that are suffering is that there are many people across the Western world, many people in this country here, I'm in the Labour Party, many of us who are pushing for our government to do more, but not just for this immediate crisis, also to do more in the long run, to make this systemic, to change the way that the global economy works and make sure that the global south and the poorest countries in the world.
अब हम बात करेंगे सैम टैरी से, जो कि एमपी हैं इल्फर्ड में, जहां पे अक्सरियत है पाकिस्तानियों की, ब्रिटिश पाकिस्तानियों की. Thank you, Sam, for your time. First of all, please tell us what exactly are you doing, because in Ilford there are mostly British Pakistanis. And their families are back home and they're suffering. So what you are doing exactly?
Obviously, we've got one of the biggest British Pakistani communities anywhere in the whole of the UK, and we're extremely well connected. So look, one of the things that I'd done straight away was to speak to some of our local businesses and to pull together at very short notice, actually, as the floods kind of were unfolding. We're seeing the terrible scenes on television, a major fundraising effort. Last night, we raised around £35,000 as a starting point from local businesses off the back of a cricket tournament, mainly Pakistani teams from Ilford taking part in that, and that was sponsored by IBPC, a number of companies locally. But that really is very much the starting point, because £35,000 is a great amount of money, but we know that the generosity of people in Ilford can stretch to tens of thousands of pounds more, if not hundreds of thousands of pounds more. I'm speaking to a number of local mosques, a number of local businesses, about how we build this project and take it forward, and also use it as an opportunity to strengthen our links on a sub-national level between Ilford and a number of different cities that we'd like to partner with in Pakistan. One of the things I also done over the last week, I had one of my key team members, I've actually released them from their duties. They've now, over the next 24 hours, going to be travelling to Pakistan to actually be on the ground working there. They're going to be linking up with a number of different people, potentially working with Naz Shah, who know MP, who's also out there. Because look, this is someone whose background was also from the Pakistani community. And I said, look, this is your family, these are your friends, these are people that we all have a connection here in Ilford. Please, working for me is important, but this is more important. So they're already on their going to be way over the next few days to go and do that. And I think as well, I was one of the first MPs to write directly to who will now be our next Prime Minister, Liz Truss. I challenged the Foreign and Commonwealth Office and said, look, This is a moment where the lack of inaction globally on climate change by your government has now in many ways directly led to such an unfolding crisis, because whichever country, the climate crisis attacks first, in this case the horrendous floods in Pakistan, there are many other countries that are facing a similar disastrous kind of outlook. Even here in the UK, we had temperatures over 40 degrees. That's never happened before in my lifetime. Rainy Britain is a thing of the past. Drought-free, drought Britain is now the norm in most of southeast England. These things are connected, but it also means that the solutions have to be worked out here in places like Ilford in the UK, but linked up, as Clive was saying, with people in Pakistan.
Any message for Pakistanis and Pakistani community?
We're on your side. We've seen the terrible suffering. We have a huge British Pakistani community. We are gathering our forces. We are gathering donations. We are going to be raising a phenomenal amount of money, but we're also going to be pressurising our government here in the UK to work with your government bilaterally to do as much as possible, whether that be through supporting the Red Crescent, or through supporting Islamic Relief, or a whole range of other charities. It's important that we actually step up now and support our allies and our friends in Pakistan as soon as possible.
जी, आपने गुफ्तगू सुनी। सैम टैरी का कहना था कि यहाँ पे काफ़ी ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस हैं जो पाकिस्तान के लिए काम कर रही हैं, और उन्होंने अवाम से अपील भी की है कि वो आगे बढ़ें और पाकिस्तान की मदद करें। साहिरा खान, दुनिया न्यूज़, लंदन।